masterpiece. Medalist tells the story of two individuals. The first is Yuitsuka Inori, a little girl who we first see in this series, completely enamoured by the beautiful sport that is ice skating. Unable to take her eyes off the screen, Inori realises that she wants to be a professional skater. With her dream being to go as far as the Olympic level, a dream she's so willing to achieve that she'll even go as far as to bribe the owner of the local ice rink with bags of worms so that he'll let her skate. Now there is actually a reason for this, it is not completely random. He needs them to feed his birds or something.
What have I done?
The other lead of this show is Inori Tsukasa, a 26-year-old former figure skater. A man who, despite his cheery demeanour, is actually quite depressed. See, many people begin their skating journey at the age of 5. Tsukasa, on the other hand, decided he wanted to be a skater when he was 14 years old. Not only was he late to the party, he was so late that he was actually too old to be taken on by coaches, meaning he could not receive the training necessary for him to enter competitions, which is a massive shame considering Tsukasa is repeatedly shown to be an incredible skater throughout this series, as well as someone who is willing to put in the hard work to actually get better. It's made very clear that had he begun skating at an earlier age, he very likely would have achieved his dreams, a fact that he himself is fully aware of. As Tsukasa mulls over his life regrets, as well as lamenting his inability to get a skating job, he happens to see our little girl sneaking around with a pair of skates in her hands. Skates that she clearly hasn't paid to use.
How dare she?
With Tsukasa exercising some stranger danger, he lets her know that he's onto her, which completely scares the crap out of Inori, causing her to bolt off from the ice rink as fast as she can. Chasing after her and nearly dying along the way, Tsukasa is able to learn the truth of the strange arrangement that Inori has with the owner, with this trembling girl stressing that she really is paying in her own way. However, as Tsukasa makes clear, if she wasn't doing anything wrong, then she wouldn't have run off. She needs to pay for it properly, otherwise we'd all be paying for everything with worms. Giving her a list of skating clubs that she could possibly join, Tsukasa tells her to go through the proper channels, as well as to tell her mom that she wishes to be a skater. Inori is 11 years old. That is the cut-off age for becoming a professional. If she wants this, truly wants this, then it is now or never. As Tsukasa sits down with an old acquaintance to discuss potentially becoming an assistant coach at their ice rink, this woman enters, saying that she's ready for their meeting. And who's this behind her? Taking to the ice, we get to watch this girl who is so insecure and fearful of how others perceive her, to the point that she pulls faces that would put gag anime characters to shame, become an entirely different person. Not only does she seem to be at her happiest while she dances on the ice, but as Tsukasa instantly recognises, she actually has talent too. In fact, he's quite optimistic about her potential. He's so optimistic and has so much belief in her that he proudly proclaims that he'll be her personal coach, essentially forcing her reluctant mother into letting her skate, as well as giving Inori the assurance that she needed to know that she can do this, with this being the first time that anyone has ever believed that she can do anything. It also means that he now has a job and a newfound purpose in his life. As you can probably surmise, the success of this show hinges on the characterization of its two leads. Luckily, they're both fantastic. Like with women, children aren't really known for getting the best representation in media, with most kid characters not really feeling like kids. Medalist threads the needle here and has all the child characters actually come across like children. For example, kids can be arseholes. They can be brutally honest and say things that cut through your heart like butter. They haven't properly matured yet, and so they lash out without thinking. Honestly, a lot of adults are like that as well. Yet they can also have these moments of shocking maturity and self-awareness too. They know what they want, and they know what they need to do to achieve their dreams. And you'd be surprised at how much hard work a child is willing to put in to make their dream a reality. The kid characters work so well because they aren't just presented as one thing. They can take these situations seriously and overcome the odds, yet the next second, they can be enthralled over the stupidest thing. I also love how off-the-cuff comments and the behaviour of the adults is shown to greatly impact these children. Inori's entire personality is completely dictated by the adults around her. As I said before, she is at the cut-off point for becoming a professional. She is years behind everyone else, and thus she needs to succeed, and she needs to succeed very quickly. So of course, she feels the pressure. But this pressure increases tenfold when her own mom has no belief in her. She's actively being discouraged and told that she can't do it by the one person that's meant to have her back. So Inori's self-esteem unsurprisingly takes a knock from this. And like a lot of children in real life, Inori doesn't have the confidence to defy her mother. It's a sad reality that many people have missed out on things because of their parents, with what they say to you and what they do genuinely sticking with you for the rest of your life. I know in my case that there are certain things, both good and bad, that my parents and other adults have said that have remained with me. So I legitimately felt a lot of pride seeing Inori muster the courage to tell her mom that she wants to be a skater. Had this moment not happened, then this series would have come to a very depressing and early end. What I like too is that the mom isn't just being this way to upset her daughter. She actually has a great reason for not wanting Inori to skate, just like your parents likely had good reasons for not wanting you to do certain things, and for saying whatever they could to convince you to give up on something. The dynamic between the two of them is brilliant, and I greatly enjoyed watching as it changed over the course of this season, with it becoming a lot more positive since Inori's mom truly loves her. She feels like she's seeing her daughter for the first time, as Inori's latent ability absolutely shocks her. Once again, this reflects the reality of parent-child kinships, where their child's strength can be invisible to them. It's actually their relationship that brought me to tears at one point, a reaction that I never expected this series to pull out of me.
Do you ever look at someone and wonder what is going on inside their head?
Whilst adults can have an extremely detrimental effect on the mental well-being of children, they can also have very positive effects too, which is best demonstrated by Tsukasa and Inori's relationship. Tsukasa is just a legitimately great man. He always seems to say the exact right thing that Inori needs to hear. Yet you also know that deep down, he himself isn't certain. He failed to achieve what he wanted to do in life, and because of that fact, he doesn't allow himself to receive support from others as he feels unworthy of it. In his eyes, he let everyone down by not becoming the person he dared dream to be. However, unlike a lot of other adults, he doesn't force his own insecurities or regrets onto the kid characters. He never tries to live his dream through Inori because they're different people. He even makes a point of letting her decide on her own fate. Whatever she decides, that's what they'll do, since he knows what it's like when you don't get to decide your own path in life. With this being where we get to see Inori's shocking maturity, as I mentioned earlier. The decisions she has to make will be overwhelming for anyone, let alone a child. I couldn't even tell what the correct course of action was, because like Tsukasa says, there are pros and cons to each option. Yet every time Inori made a decision, she was always able to articulate why she made that decision. And even though this is an overall feel-good fictional story, I was so invested that I was nervous watching this. But Inori's reasoning always went a long way in calming me down, mainly because there was conviction behind her words. Isn't it interesting that the utterances of a child can relax you in the same way that as an adult, you're meant to alleviate them? And it's good that Inori does this, because I couldn't help but be very anxious throughout this series. She's repeatedly shown to be a nervous wreck throughout this season, so I couldn't help but get the jitters. Her being like this makes it far more believable, and likely that she'll mess up during a routine, something that does happen at multiple points in this anime. And you're so stressed out watching it because you so desperately want her to succeed. So when she does, you overcome with this immense amount of relief and pride, just like Tsukasa is. If she's lacking in confidence, then he will be that for her. And I love the subtle shift in this first season, where you watch she becomes significantly more confident in herself.
Yes.
With our leads being so well developed, it was no surprise to me that I found myself relating to them. In Inori, I could see the me who dared to dream, the person who wanted so desperately to be the best at what they loved, but was also well aware of how difficult it would be to walk that path. And in Tsukasa, I saw the me who felt that it was hopeless, The version of me felt like I waited too long, that my dream could no longer be obtained. My current very negative headspace really affected how I viewed this series, with both the leads in this show unlocking a lot of my own inner regret, causing me to recognise a lot of the dissatisfaction that I'm currently experiencing in my own life. When the characters say what if, I say what if. What if I'd said yes to this instead of no? What if my life had gone in this direction instead of this one? Regret, unfortunately, is a key part of life. Even those who do succeed still experience it, and I was very surprised to have that feeling drawn out of me, as I don't think it's ever happened before, or at least has never happened to the degree that it did with this anime. It's not just me that Medalist has had such a major impact on, but essentially everyone who's ever read or watched it. The manga won the Shogakukan Manga Award in 2022. It also won the 48th Kodansha Manga Award for the general category, whilst Freeman won the Shonen category, and looking at your profile, won in the Shoujo category. Medalist was actually a runner-up the previous year, which makes me excited for how this anime will develop in the future. On Mal, the manga has a score of 8.68, making it one of the top 100 highest rated manga of all time on the platform. And the first season of this anime, with only a small handful of reviews, has a score of 8.4, so don't just take my word for it when I say this show is good. On top of all of this, they're Kenshi Yonezu doing the opening. That's right, the Kenshi Yonezu, the same guy who did the Chainsaw Man opening, the second My Hero opening, and the third March Comes In Like a Lion ending song. All of these are some of the most listened to and popular anime songs of all time. Yeah, that's the guy they got to do this anime's opening. Well, I say they got him, in reality, Kenshi was just enamored with Medalist as the rest of us and actually asked to do the opening for this anime. Like I said earlier, we all have regrets and insecurities, including successful people. And in the same way that many of us relate to these characters, so did he. If someone who's arguably at the pinnacle of his field can see himself in these characters, that's when you know the writer has done a good job.
今日はタブレットを借りてきた。動画で自分の滑りをその場で確認して覚えていこう。空中でスッと姿勢を調整できるセンスと。
So I think it's pretty clear that the story and characters here are incredible, but how is the animation? Because going into this series, one of the biggest points of contention was that aspect, because this is clearly a very beloved work that deserves the highest quality of adaptations. No one wanted another great manga to be tarnished by a poor screen translation. These fears were not helped when it was revealed that Engi were the studio adapting this manga.
Who?
Yeah, I had a feeling that you wouldn't know who this studio was. I'd actually never seen an anime from this studio before Medalist. Their most popular work is Uzaki-chan Wants to Hang Out, which I only remember for the controversy it created. Although I do remember that a lot of people really praised the animation in the first episode of The Detective Is Already Dead, which was also by this studio. So I actually went into Medalist with fairly high hopes. And let me tell you, those hopes were rewarded. The 2D animation here, whilst not the greatest you'll ever see, is good, with the ice skating scenes getting the care and attention they deserve. So in that regard, I don't think you'll be disappointed with Medalist. However, if CGI in anime makes you crinkle up into a ball, then you may struggle with this, because every now and then, during the skating scenes, the animation will switch from 2D to CGI, and sometimes it can be a little jarring. That said, this switch actually works in the anime's favour, because in my opinion, the CGI is actually really good. It allows the skating scenes to be a lot more dynamic and fluid, with the camera following the skaters in ways that it couldn't if Engi tried to replicate this with 2D. And best of all, the characters are still extremely expressive when they switch to CG. You can still see the pain and determination on Inori's face as she pushes herself during these sections. Honestly, at times the 2D and CG animation is so strong that occasionally when the anime switches between the two, it's seamless. Not always, there are plenty of times where you'll be watching and mentally go, oh okay, so we're doing CG for this dance, but I never felt like I was getting an inferior product when this switch up happened, because it consistently looked great. It helps that the sound design is incredible too. You hear every scratch, every scrape, every chip in the ice as the skaters dance, and it's extremely immersive. I'm thoroughly impressed with Engi's work on this anime, and I'm glad that they're the studio handling this adaptation. That said, I do have a couple criticisms of this series that I'd like to share. Firstly, the anime can be a little over the top sometimes. Now this does occasionally work in the show's favour, as it enhances the comedy and the characters' personalities, but other times it can really feel like it's interrupting a scene that otherwise could have done with a bit more breathing room. Though this also could be due to the editing, which is my second criticism. The editing in this anime isn't the strongest, with some scenes feeling like they're not paced properly, and some of the background music doesn't always fade out as well as it could. But these are nitpicks at best. Plus, they have to find some way to cram all the manga greatness into one episode, so these issues are unlikely to bother you, especially when you do take into consideration everything that this show did well. Solo Leveling Season 2 was hype, The Apothecary Diaries Season 2 has been intoxicating, Orb was out of this world, Rizuru made me want to run it back, and Blue Box was beautiful. But this right here, this is my anime of the season. And honestly, I could see it being my anime of the year. Guys, I genuinely don't ask for much, aside from small things like a bigger penis, a smoking hot wife, £1 million, and 1 million subscribers, but other than that, I barely ask for anything. So know that it carries weight when I ask you, plead with you, to sit down and watch Medalist. You won't regret it. If you enjoyed this video, then please do give it a like, as that really boosts this video in the YouTube algorithm. And click the subscribe button whilst you're down there too, so you don't miss the next one. And please leave a comment as well. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the Medalist anime and manga. I want to know what this story means to you. But for now, let me just say thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it, and hope to see you in the next one.
Bye bye!